This is Narratives in Black, and I'm your host, Amanda Shea. And in part one, Jeneé took us inside her journey as a journalist, storyteller, and unapologetic advocate for Black joy and truth. Now, in part two, we go deeper into the power of narrative, how to honor our complexities, hold space for resistance and love, and what it means to write for liberation. Let's continue this rich conversation with Jeneé Osterheldt. You are a survivor. I know you, but I don't know you. But what I do know is that your high school career was really rough getting into your college journey. And you named at one point that there was a professor who really pushed you into getting into Norfolk State University and believed in you as a writer. Do you want to shed some light on that story a little bit?
Yeah, so, I had great teachers. I know a lot of people have bad, teacher experiences. Unfortunately, and I hate that. But I have to say, at my high school, I had a lot of really dope teachers. Mr. Young shepherded me through the financial aid process when he realized that I had no parent around to be present. Mm-hmm. And then,
college applications.
Yeah, he literally helped fix all of that at the last minute because it all kind of came crashing down senior year. And then, I had a photography professor that there's nothing she would have, she just really believed in my art and was just like, you can do all the things. You can do poetry, you can do photo essays.
And did.
Yeah, and then with writing, it was Mrs. Martin. Mrs. Martin was the teacher who regularly failed high school seniors. Everybody hated her. Taught AP English. Mrs. Martin, for me, saw right through me. I would come to her class high and be spouting stuff on Ophelia and giving grand soliloquies on Shakespeare. And she pulled me to the side once and was like, if you would just come to class not high, I can't imagine what you could do. Because she was like, you're already passing and you're in here high. You're doing great. You're doing great.
So come in here sober,
Come here
sis.
sober. She was like, you could really go to college and major in English. You could be a writer. And she just really believed in me. And
did you even think of that before she even named that?
I mean, I did. I'm not going to pretend like she gave me the idea. Dream Hampton has always been kind of the framework for me. Dream has been the framework for me, since I read her review on Diggable Planets and Village Voice. And Khadijah James has been a framework for me.
Living Single, for those who are too young to know what that.
Khadijah, Ananda Lewis framework for me.
Rest in
peace. So it's I couldn't be a rapper. So, I want to be a writer. I wanted to be a photographer. I wanted to tell our stories through the arts. And Mrs. Martin, I think what that did for me was affirm me and really, versus me thinking of it in these sort of abstract ways, I feel like it really helped me be like, wait a minute, I can buckle down and really, really get after this. This person who has mastered English is saying I have a gift and sees it in me and saw it in me at my lowest period, because that's when I was pretending life was great. Because being one of the cool kids, I didn't want nobody to know what was going on in my life. But at that time, I was couch surfing. I was staying at one friend's house, staying at another friend's house, staying at another friend's house, not knowing where my mom was because she just rolled out, just trying to figure out things. And so to have her kind of be like, you have a gift, and really affirm, despite the fact that I already had those dreams, having someone sort of really see you
before you see you.
Yeah, really see you and be like, nah, you can do this, I think was that what I needed. And also she advocated for me when I had a white professor my freshman year at Norfolk State who thought I plagiarized a paper and accused me. And I called Mrs. Martin because what that professor didn't know is it was homework from senior year. I just turned in some stuff I had already written because I was like, this is an easy assignment. I did this already when Mrs. Martin gave it to me. So I called Mrs. Martin and was like, she's accusing me of making this up. And listen, Mrs. Martin had my back. She had that sharp bob, like old girl from like Edna.
Ooh.
She had that sharp bob. She had
Or
my
Maxine
back.
Shaw.
Yeah, or Maxine Shaw. But yeah, Mrs. Martin had my back. She absolutely out Karen. And, you know, told her maybe she shouldn't be working with us if she couldn't believe in us. And, you know, this is one white woman to another white woman reading her down. So it just, you know, and she's gone now, rest in peace, about Mrs. Martin. But I think there's something really beautiful about that, especially about someone who everyone was like actively vilifying, ended up being someone who actually like poured into me.
Interesting how that works, huh? And the irony of you naming Dream Hampton, and now she sits in your audiences listening to you at your disruptor dialogues with the new Commonwealth Fund in Martha's Vineyard. How does that feel for you?
I mean, she didn't come for me. She came for Harry, but I was a bonus. She knew I was there. I saw her at the coffee shop before. She was like, you know, I didn't know you were here. And I was able to pay homage to her at the Ford Foundation earlier this year, but it's overwhelming for me. Like, you know, Dream is a giant. Dream is a giant, and I think, you know, it's so funny because all the things that she wrote that made me fall in love with her, you know, she still does it, but she does it differently now through film and through documentary and through speaking and art, and shouldn't even love hip hop anymore. And I get why she doesn't. I do, but I get why she doesn't. But I'll forever just be like enamored with her brain and her spirit and how she sees us and how she like unrelentlessly seeks truth and demands accountability in a way that so many people don't because they want to be invited to the function. So anytime I see her in a room, whether I'm on stage or she's on stage, but anytime I get to be in a space with Dream, I think I have like that like moment where I'm just like, yo, I think I really am walking in my purpose. Like I'm moving in my purpose, and I don't know. It makes me feel like I'm not done yet.
Nowhere close. Nowhere close. And I think that's what makes you so special, Jeneé, seriously, is because we see a lot of writers, a lot of journalists, you know, especially working at major stations like yourself, who have to necessarily put not only just a flashlight, but a spotlight on the struggles and sometimes the not so pretty things in our community. Whereas I feel like with you, not only through a beautiful resistance, but just who you are as a person, you're always in a space of, no, we have joy here, we have resistance. Because you center so much on Black lives, in that joy, in that resiliency, what was the turning point in your career when you realized that this was going to be your journalistic mission?
You know, it honestly probably happened around the time of Mike Brown and Trayvon Martin. I always centered us. I'm not going to pretend like I didn't center us, mostly because I aspired to be a hip hop journalist. That was my original aspiration. I started out as a music critic.
I remember even when you moved to Boston, that's what you were.
So I started out as a music critic and covering, you know, hip hop culture, pop culture. It was always about us, but I really do feel like I also I was writing about fashion, I was writing about movies, I was writing about just all types of stuff. I had a good time. I at one point I had a nightlife column. I got paid to literally write about where people should go. So I had a good time, but I feel like, you know, around the time of Mike Brown and Trayvon Martin, especially because I was living in Kansas City, Missouri, and I remember Derek Purnell, who has gone on to become one of the greatest minds and radical thinkers of our generation. was in Kansas City also at the same time as me, cultivating the Black Lives Matter protest. And I feel like being there at that time, being in my newsroom at that time, hearing how journalists who I respected were responding to that in ways that were woefully disappointing, sort of made me step up in a way that I was just like, oh. And I had had moments before, like I had stepped up when I felt like Obama wasn't coming out strong enough in support of gay marriage. He eventually got there, but this was like when he felt like he was kind of sticking his toe in the water at first. And I had stepped up before in talking about the doll test and colorism and different things like that. But that chasm that was happening with Mike Brown and Trayvon Martin all around that same year led to me and a friend of mine, Mark Anthony, we kind of kept a spreadsheet of names that were bodies. It was like Black people who were murdered unarmed by police, security officers, etc. And we would kind of touch base every week, just talking about it and like talking about how they were being talked about or not talked about. We were sending each other quotes from Zora Neale Hurston and James Baldwin. And I just feel like that timeline around that time is when I realized like, I've got to get more. It wasn't that I wasn't doing the work, but I just felt like I had to lock all the way in and get more intentional and more committed in a way to sort of fill a hole that I saw in my newsroom and just in the mid, like what was happening. And I was just like, this is not it. I got to figure out how to like stretch and expand for this. And, you know, that led to many years of disproportionately writing about injustice and death, which is important. I'm not going to ever say that's not important. People who do that work, we need them. We need that work forever. But I think at one point I just realized like, it can't all be, we can't only tell these stories. So of course I'm in meetings. Just because you don't see my byline doesn't mean I didn't have anything to do with it. I'm in meetings where we're ideating, where we're talking about stories and talking about coverage, and I give input. So it's like, you know, having those conversations and being able to make sure we're doing both and, not either or. Like, yes, we're telling the stories of injustice and suffering and you know, statistics and data, but we're also telling the stories of our lived lives and like our joy and our fullness and our dreams, because forever you have read random stories about who grew the biggest squash at the farm and, you know, whatever, you know, these random, like, you know, this little kid won the spelling bee and just fun, mundane stories that add to like the beauty of our lives. But those people are so rarely Black and brown. Those people are so rarely people of color or queer people. So it's like, how do we counter that? And, you know, that takes me all the way to George Floyd and, you know, being in Minneapolis at his funeral and covering that and not being able to really eat for a couple of days because that's how stark Minneapolis was. And I was an intern in Minneapolis at the beginning of my career, so I know what that city normally looks like. And to see it look how it looked during that time was hard. And standing at that Cup Foods intersection and watching those everybody was bringing sunflowers to that intersection. And watching those sunflowers crane their neck up to the sun and artists were out there painting, it just really, something inside me in that moment bore a beautiful resistance. I was just like, this is a beautiful resistance. This is what this is. They are out here like building dreams and joy and love and beauty from despair. And that's kind of how the idea for A Beautiful Resistance was born. And I called my editor and was like, I'm going to keep covering this stuff, but I'm also going to create a whole nother platform that is dedicated to our joy and dedicated to our lives, because I'm tired of us being t-shirts and hashtags. Like, you know, you think about Queen and Slim, and that movie got panned. But the truth is, Lena had a beautiful message in there. That little boy who, like, the t-shirts became an aspiration of fame because that's how you get known. That was symbolism for how we celebrate people. Like, we celebrate them so much. We make them famous. We put them on t-shirts and memorialize them in this way because that's how we talk about them. So that's what becomes coveted. How do we do that with living people? How do we give people their flowers while they're here? How do we celebrate the everyday fullness of what it means to live? Even as you're carrying trauma and grief on your back, you still have joy, because our people have always done those things in tandem. So that's kind of when I was like, okay, I've got to like really figure out how to do my part, because I can't fix it. I'm one person, but how to do my part in like painting a fuller picture of us.
Your contribution, Jeneé, it is really magical and beautiful to witness, because you do that so beautifully and articulate it in a way that people can really understand and evolve in that. I love that story of the sunflowers. I've heard that story prior, but every time you tell it, I'm like, it's so gorgeous, and how sunflowers just point up to the sun because they just want to feel the warmth of the sun, and how we as people are exactly like that.
We are. It's like I said, it's why I love August. Like I love being a Leo. I love being ruled by the sun. Like, and it's not about me shining. It's like about shining on everybody else, and not as a flex, but as a like, hey, look, I'm gonna help you shine too. Like we can all. There's room for all of us to be up in this sun.
You've spoken about your work of how art and justice intersect. How do you see your art as a form of activism, as well as some people who inspire you, other artists, journalists, etc., in your work today?
So I think not just my art, but I just think art in general, when it's done with intention and care, is always going to be a radical move. It's always going to be inherently political, even when it has no political messaging. Just the fact that we exist and we have agency of expression, and someone else is witnessing us, especially as artists of color, marginalized artists, for queer artists, anybody who's not, mainstream America, that is going to be a radical act. And then inherently art, when you think back to, those very first banners, "A man was lynched today," people might not think of that as art, but that was art. And it was typography. It was printed big on purpose. When the sanitation workers protests, "I am a man." We have always used art. We have always used writing. The Black Panther Party, their own paper. We have always used this type of language, storytelling, griots, visuals, photography. Frederick Douglass being the most photographed man. That is a very intentional use of the power of art. So we know that art is radical and transformative in how we see ourselves. This is why we have an administration whose very first act back in January was to go after the Smithsonian, was to go after the humanities, was to go after the arts, and to go after funding and go after education.
Education, yeah.
Because that's the first thing they do when you're at war. They take your art, they take your pictures, they take your history, they take your education, because they want to indoctrinate you into their way of seeing. So art is always inherently going to be political because of its power. Which is why we have to protect the imagination and protect possibilities, even when it's something as simple as a children's book, because those open the door. Like I said, Phantom Tollbooth opened the doors to me dreaming. And they know that power. That's why they're always banning books and trying to go after shows and streaming. People who inspire me outside of course, James Baldwin and Zora Neale Hurston, Dream Hampton, Gordon Parks, Ernie Barnes. I could just go on and on, but like people who are closer to my age or a little younger than me, Casey Gerald. Casey Gerald has an essay that I revisit every year. I think that was in New York Magazine. It's like The Flight of Escape. It's basically about imagining us as being able to fly, being able to escape our hardships. It's just good. He is a gorgeous writer. I deeply admire him. Kelly Carter Jackson, I am just like a stan. Obviously Kendrick Lamar, a forever fan, But there's a lot of people who inspire me. I mean, you inspire me. There's so many people who show up and show out and just hold space for us and witness us. So, I look at Sarah Lewis with Vision and Justice and what she has built, and watching Amy take a stand against the Smithsonian when they tried to edit her work. Like, so, you know, seeing Amy Sherald and Rashid Johnson and Makeba McQuarrie, who is a genius, and Darren Walker. Like, there's so many different people from different mediums who inspire me. You know, even what Jerry Lorenzo is doing with Fear of God, and what Portia Blunt is doing with Be Blunt, what Cole Brown just did with the Magic City documentary.
Come on, sis.
Like, there's so many different people coming at it different ways. Like Rob, pro-black, like
Love
Sidney James. Like, there's so many people coming at
Dart Adams.
Yeah, Dart, the forever historian, forever holding space for us and making sure that nobody forgets how black Boston is with a capital B, baby. But yeah, I could like, we would have to do a whole nother interview for me to just name drop people, but those are some people.
No, that's a hell of a list, and I hope that everybody at home watching research each person that she name dropped, because they are so important, including you. I'm so happy that you named the political climate and all this and the banning of books. When you named, I will get emotional, and that's probably why I can't remember the church name in this moment, but where that I Am a Man statue is, that church burned down recently, and they just ruled it as arson, which we already knew as Black folk, and we know why they did that, what they did. As far as like where we're at, what are your thoughts around public media now being attacked? And does that make you feel, I don't want to use the word fearful, but does that make you feel even more like you need to create more of a stance and be more present in the ways in which that you show up and tell the stories?
It emboldens me more. Like, you know, I've had my life threatened. I've had to change my phone number. I've had to move addresses. So it's not a new fight. It's a scarier fight because it's so expansive and the weapons are different. It's not like one or two people coming after me. It's like a collective and a government coming after all of us. But journalists have never been popular, ever. We've never been a popular group. So I think one thing is for journalists to remember that. Like, our duty has always been to truth. And yes, some people have strayed off that path and gotten it way wrong. As they do in any field.
This is true.
But, you know, if we remember what our duty is, then now is the time. Now is the time to be emboldened. Now is the time to go harder. Now is the time to think about who you're interviewing, how you're interviewing, and how you can create a safer space. How you could build trust so that they want to share with you, so that we can protect everybody. And I know not all journalists are in a position to do this, but those who are can and should. And, you know, I don't get to write as much anymore because I'm in management, but this has only made me want to write more. It has only made me want to take time off so that I could focus on getting a beautiful resistance, not back up, but just fully up, because it has had to take a little bit of a backseat so I can help create institutional changes. We do not have time to despair or to shrink. This is not the time to be quiet. This is not the time to tap out and let it be someone else's fight. That is bullshit. Liberation is not an opt-in sport. So as journalists, as people, as witnesses, you have to decide whether you're okay with sitting out while people are in pain and hurting, and while your individual freedoms are being taken away, because this is affecting everybody at every level. And yeah, I get very sad when I look at the defunding of public media, of museums, of schools. Now is the time. We have to fight, we have to protect, and we cannot afford to be people who are like, this school is caving to these demands, or this media company is caving. Like, look, there are gonna be some people who cave with bad intentions. There are gonna be some people who give into this and surrender to this administration because because they don't care. But there are also going to be people who are covertly doing everything they can. Optically, it might look like they're caving, but they're building a different system, as we have always done. And we have to be mindful of that and extend some grace in that type of fighting too, because there's going to be obvious resistance and there's going to be covert resistance. And we have to be careful that we're not kicking people away who might actually be covertly trying to help. So this is one of those moments where all tools are necessary. All tools are necessary in the system, out the system, building new systems. All tools are necessary is how I feel. And journalism is never going to be irrelevant. Facts matter, truth matters. And telling our stories is how we remember who we are and whose we are. It's essential as journalists, as artists, as photographers, as painters, as spoken word artists, whatever your art is. Now is the time.
Jeneé, girl, I'm inspired by you. I'm enamored by you. Your voice, I don't know if you feel the impact or even understand the impact of your legacy. That is probably going to be my last question for you, because I say this almost at every single end of an interview, but like I could really speak to you forever, because you are just a plethora of information and education, and the way that in which that you can articulate that is so digestible for anybody and everybody to understand. So I thank you for your service, for your commitment, for your dedication, your passion, and for you truly stepping in and walking into your purposes. Like, you have no idea how much young folks look up to you, and I hear your name in the community a lot. And it's not just for your work, it's about how the way that you hold space for people. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing, and a beautiful resistance.
Thank you, sis.
You're welcome, sis. What do you hope your legacy will be in journalism and beyond? And I ask you that keeping in mind that you've already built your legacy. Even if you were to stop today with anything that you were doing, your legacy is embedded here, not only in Boston, but at Norfolk, in all of the spaces and places and people that you have touched. What would you hope your legacy for you to be?
You know, it's funny. I think there was a time, and I think this is like, you know, the hip hop in me, that was just like, oh, it's, you know, gonna be the best, or it's gonna be the prizes, or it's gonna be the flex, like, oh, guess what guys, I was the chair of the, you know, criticism jury for Pulitzer, which is
in 2023,
which was the end all be all, like, oh my God, guys, you know, I was on Good Morning America, I want an Emmy, like all these things that you would think like
an online journalism award.
Those and all those things are amazing, like, you know. They are. I'm not going to pretend like I wasn't proud. Like, of course I was proud, but that's not my legacy. That is not my legacy. And the people who I most want to impact don't give a shit about that. And they don't even know what those things are. They don't know what they don't know what a Murrow Award is. Like, they don't care about that. So those are not actually the things that I look at as my legacy. And, you know, I hope people stumble upon my work. I hope they stumble upon the things I've written and they feel moved and they read, react, remember, recall. I really do. But even that's not my legacy. My legacy is in people. My legacy is in, you know, people who I was able to hold space for and create paths for. People who are in the Museum of Science now who do not have partnerships at the Museum of Science before. People like Jeneé, the director, who can eat off his art because I saw something in him and gave him an opportunity and set his name in rooms where they weren't and invested in classes, whatever he wanted. And now Jeneé doesn't need me. We still work together by choice, family by choice, but he don't need me. He's off into better, bigger spaces.
Him and Keeks are like the dream team.
Jeneé and Michaela, CTD Productions, better. But those types of things are my legacy. JL being my intern, now their intern, hopefully off to film school. These things are my legacy. Creating a fellowship at the Boston Globe, a 2-year program that helps, you know, untold stories be told through the lens of our young people. Those are my legacy moves. It's through people. It's through inviting folks on stages and places that don't normally get invited to the function. It's in Disruption Dialogue with New Commonwealth Fund. It's being able to actually give Dream her flowers on stage. Those moments. It's people. It's the love. It is how something I said will live through somebody else, and maybe they won't even credit me one day, but I planted the seed, and that's legacy. And like I said, I do hope my words find people and they read it and they understand what my gift is. But if they don't, more than that, I hope my legacy just continues to live on in people. Like hearing someone like Yana G say, you don't know this, but you're a mentor to me. Like that almost leveled me to tears, like, because I haven't spent one-on-one time with Yana. I always pour into her when I see her, but we haven't had intentional one-on-one time. And I'm like, if you're seeing me and understanding that I see you and I love you from a distance, that means everything to me. That is legacy.
And you have done it so well. Yana is a special, special girl. So is Nay Speaks.
Yes, Nay.
And they both
and I
speak
adore them
very
both.
highly of you. So does Dated On.
Yeah.
Even though he's off to college right now at Dayton, Ohio University.
I adore them. I adore all of them, and Ike, and just watching what Ike is doing. Like, any way that I can continue to water the garden so that we bloom, that's the legacy.
And you not only have done that, but you continue to do that, Jeneé. I'm so happy for you.
Thank
and
you.
I'm so proud to be on this journey with you, sis, for real, for real.
It's right back at you, the way you be teaching. You are a beautiful resistance, mama.
Girl, we are a beautiful
resistance. And I can't wait for y'all to hear this new project from Amanda Shea, baby. Don't be dusty. Stay moisturized with that Amanda Shea.
I love you.
We ain't living no ashy resistance,
we
okay?
really not, though, because if you're using Vaseline in 2025, what is you doing, baby? Like, are we really doing the work? I don't know. With that being said, as y'all see, this is my good sis, Jeneé Osterheldt. Please make sure that you watch this in its entirety, and also stay tuned to all of the upcoming beautiful things that she is doing and will continue to do, not just with Beautiful Resistance, not just with the new Commonwealth Fund, but all of the things that are in the future. Thank you, Jeneé, for being here with us. And y'all, thank you for tuning in to Narratives in Black. We'll see you at the next episode.
Thank you. We live in Boston, baby.
Period. Big Boston.
Big Boston, not the little one.
Roxbury 02119.
That part, the black of the Roxbury.
The Bury.